Hi Year 3, this is your computing lesson. It's Thursday the 4th of February and your learning objective today is, can I understand why passwords and privacy settings are important? So before we start, I'd like you just to pause the video. I'd like you to write down why you might have a password and what you might have a password on. So just have a think about that. Why would we have passwords and what might they be on? Okay, so we're going to start with, what is a password? It's something to keep your things safe. Now I'm going to zoom out a little bit just so that you can see all of my screen. Something to keep your things safe, for example, like a lock or a secret or a code. So a password is something to keep it safe. So sometimes you can have padlocks like this, which you need a key to unlock it. Sometimes it has a little code on it where you have to enter it on there, which some of our school gates have got as well. And it's to keep something safe. So it could be something that you might have a secret diary at home where you write some notes in there about things, and you might have a little lock on there, or you might have your school email address, and your email, to go onto your email, you have to have a password, which is in your reading record book. You've got a little password in there that we've put on there for you. So they are passwords, and it's to keep things safe. If you didn't have a password to get into your email, then anyone could go into your email. They could send emails from your account, or they could read your emails. So a password is really important. Why do we use them? We use them to stop people seeing our information, to stop people using our accounts, and to make sure only you can change your information. Remember, adults will probably have more passwords or protected things than children, and these could be for very important things. So just because just remember that sometimes the adults might have other important things than children, you will still have important things that are important to you. So like I said earlier, with your emails, keeping them safe is important, because you might email a friend and you won't want your other people to see the email you've sent their friend. That doesn't mean that we're saying unkind things. It's just to make sure that we're keeping our conversations private between us. If we're having conversation with our friends, why should other people see that? The only people that should make sure they can see what you're doing online is an adult that you can trust. So a parent at home should be able to see what you're doing online, whether that's sending an email to a friend or writing to someone on Teams. So make sure that at least one adult who you can trust, who you know, so a parent or an older brother or sister or a teacher at school, is able to see what you're doing, just to make sure they're keeping you safe. So I have got 6 pictures, and I'm going to make it a bit bigger for you in a minute. I want you to think how you would feel if someone had your password for the site on these pictures. I'm going to go through it for you. And it says, what could happen if someone had the password to that account? What information could they find out? What could they use your account for? And could it harm you? So I'm going to make it a little bit bigger for you. Okay, so our first one is your password for an online game account. So I just want you to have a think. What would happen if someone else had the password for your online game account? What might they do on there? Okay, so in your Timetable Rockstars, you all have your own passwords. And I had a few children who didn't know their password. And instead of me announcing on Teams what their password was, I made sure that I emailed to their parent what their password was. And the reason for that is you can collect coins on Timetable Rockstars. Now, if someone else had your password, they could go onto your account and they could spend all your coins. So for that reason, that's why I told them privately what their password was to get onto Timetable Rockstars. The same with any online game account. If someone else has your game account details, they could go on there and they could spend all your money on the game coins, or they might make you lose on purpose, all different things like that. That's why we might not want to share it on there. Your email password is a bit like one I just said earlier on. What you're sending to your friends in your emails is something between you and your friends. So you wouldn't want someone who you don't like, or someone to be able to read your emails who you might not be able to trust. So that's why we'd keep that one safe. Same with your password for a games console account. Same real reason there. If they go on your games console, they'll be able to play games under your name. They might be able to talk to other people, and people will think they're talking to you and they're not. That's why it's important. Okay, I'm going to ask you to pause the video now for the next 3. So I want you to think. I've helped you with the first 3. The next 3 is a password for your social media. So if you were an adult or an older person, so if in your teenage years and you had social media, something like Facebook, why is it important you have a password for that? And what could happen if someone else had that password? I'd like you to think about that. I'd like you to also think about if you were an adult, because some people buy their online shopping online, especially at the moment if they don't want to go to the shops. What would happen if the password for an online shopping account was taken by somebody else and somebody else went on there? I'd like you to think about what would happen then. And your last one is also if you were an adult, what would happen if they had your online banking? So they knew the password to get on to see your banking information and what money you had in the bank online. So I want you to pause the video and have a think of those three things. Okay, so hopefully you've spoken to an adult or you've had a think to yourself about what would happen if those three things happened. Now, the first one I said was social media. Now, hopefully none of you have got this yet because you shouldn't really have social media until you're at least 13 for some of them and some of them are 16. It depends on what the website is. Now, social media allows you to talk to people all over the world, allows you to talk to friends and family all over the world, and allows you to share photos and look at other people's photos. But what would happen if someone had the password to that account? They could say things to other people. They could look at photos that you've got on your account. They might write things on your account, so they might pretend to be you. So it's really important to keep those things, that password, safe. Now, if you've got other ideas that I haven't mentioned, I really want you to write them down so that I can see them or your teacher can see them, because it's really important to know what you're thinking. Now, strange one, because a lot of you would never have done online shopping as a child. You might have seen a parent or an older brother or sister do it, but you might not have done it yourself. So online shopping is where they might go on to a shopping website and they might buy their food shop online and then it will be delivered. And it makes it so you don't have to go around all the shops. Now, the problem with that is, first of all, you often have your shopping list saved. So if you always buy 3 bananas and 2 apples, then when you go on there, it'll automatically save that. So if someone goes on there that isn't you, they might change your shopping list, which can be an absolute nuisance. Another thing, though, is that your card is saved. Your parents or whoever's buying the food might have their money information on there, and they might end up buying something on the account that you don't want. And the person who has to pay for it will be the person whose account it is. So it's really important to keep that safe as well. If you can think of any other ideas for that one, write them down as well. And the last one is online banking. And if someone goes onto that, they can unfortunately try and take quite a lot of money from people. And that does happen. Banks are very good nowadays at noticing if something strange happens on someone's account, and they'll try to contact you to try and stop it from happening. But just being really careful not to give that sort of information. Now, that's not a problem now when you're children, but when you're older, it's really important to keep that information safe and for your adults to keep that information safe as well. And it is illegal to break into someone's account like that. And obviously it is illegal to steal money, whether it's online or in person. It's still against the law to do that. So they're just ideas of things. It's really important to keep things safe. Now, as children, we may think that keeping our online game account is important, and it is. It's really important. And then when you're an adult, you have different ideas of what's important, such as making sure your banking password is safe. But just making sure that what you're using now, whatever it is, whether it's just your email or your Timetable Rockstar password, it's your passwords to keep your things safe. So we've gone through what information they could find out. I've gone through what they could use your account for. And could it harm you? I mean, it could harm you because it could end up someone could be writing a message that could harm someone, hurt someone else, or hurt you. It will make you very upset if someone went on and took people's money. That would really hurt the person. So it's just important that it can harm you, and it could harm someone else, even if it's just mentally. If someone took all your coins from Timetable Rockstars that you've been working on for ages and ages, you'd be really sad. So that is still a type of harm that would make you upset and sad about it. But remember what I've just said about making sure that the adult knows what's going on. So make sure that you have an adult that is aware of what you are typing just to keep you safe. Same way in school when we go on our emails, you've got a teacher who's walking around the computer room just to keep an eye on what you're doing, making sure that you are safe. Protecting yourself. Passwords stop people from getting into your account, but they also stop people from seeing any private information that might be in your account. So when you make an account, you might have your name, address, phone number, email, or even bank details. If someone has your password, they might be able to see all of that information. And we're going to go on to tricky passwords, so it's not too easy. Because especially when you become an adult, you have to have passwords for so many different things, and a lot of the time the easiest thing to do is have one password for everything. But that means that if an unkind person gets your password, they'll be able to get into all of your things. So it's important to make sure your passwords are really tricky. Another easy way to protect your information is to always choose to use strong privacy settings. So this is when you use things like social media, or sometimes if you have a YouTube channel, it's making sure that you don't put all the information of you on there. So here it says privacy settings mean that you can control what people can see on your account. So this person is called Sarah Bailey. Now I can see Sarah Bailey's name, what she looks like, where she lives in London and England, and her email address. She's also got a Sarah Bailey over here. This Sarah Bailey has used privacy settings. I know her name is Sarah Bailey. I don't know where she lives. I don't know her email address, and I don't know what she looks like. Which one would you prefer a stranger seeing? So if you were Sarah Bailey and a stranger went onto your account, what would you prefer them to see? This one or this one? And why? So I'd like you to pause the video and have a think of which one is the best one for a stranger to see, someone you don't know. Okay, hopefully you think this one. That's because when it's a stranger, you don't know who they are. You don't want them to have all this information about you. So this stranger will only be able to see this person's name, and that's it. Whereas this one, they can see where she lives, what her email address is, they can contact her, and what she looks like. Just being really careful with those settings that only maybe your friends and family who you trust can see things, and not everyone. Okay, so I'm going to show you 5 passwords. And these are passwords that can be set for your Times Table Rockstars or your emails or anything at all. And I'd like you to rank them from the most secure, so that means the hardest to guess, the hardest for an unkind person to guess what your password would be, to the least secure, which means it'd be really easy for them to guess. So these are the passwords. So you could do a pet's name, for example, Fluffy123. A password that says password123, ABCDE 1 2 3 4 5, a random word and a number, for example, pencil 21, or ALBT capital D exclamation mark BQ. So I'd like you to write down which one you think, and you can label them. So you could do A, B, C, D, E. Which one do you think is the most secure? So the safest one. If you put that there, it would be really hard for someone to guess. I'd like you to put them in order from the most secure to the one that's the least secure, the one that's going to be easiest to guess. So pause the video now and have a think of what you... Okay, let's have a look at the answers. The most secure is password E. That's this last one here. It uses capital letters, the A and the D are capital, lowercase letters, that's the L, the B, the T, the B and the Q, numbers, oh, sorry, I think that's a 1 there, not an L. Symbols, it's got the exclamation mark, and no real words. That's going to be the hardest password for anyone to guess. So have a think really carefully. That would be really tricky to guess, that one. Virtually impossible, in fact. Password B, this one here, is the easiest to guess. It's the least secure. But actually, this isn't a good thing. It's one of the most common passwords in the world. So one of the most common passwords that people use across the entire world is the word password 123. So that is the least secure. I would say that ABCDE 1 2 3 4 5 is the second least secure. And then out of these two, they're probably quite similar. So maybe random word and number would be second. So it'd be first, most secure, then this one, then Fluffy123, then A, B, C, D, E, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then password 1, 2, 3 would be the least secure. So well done if you had those. If you had these two in the different order, fluffy and pencil, then they're probably quite close. This one's slightly trickier because if someone knows your pet's name, they might try that, but they wouldn't know what your random word is. Okay, let's keep going. Which of these 4 privacy settings would you advise someone to use on a children's social media site? So, imagine there was a social media site for children to use. Unfortunately, you have to have privacy settings because there could be strangers having a look at your profile or people that you don't want to have a look at your profile. Now, which of these settings, I'm going to read them out to you, would you advise, do you think someone should have on their site? Your whole profile can be seen by friends. You can choose which parts of your profile can be seen by both strangers and friends. I'm just going to move it down a little bit for you. Read that one again. You can choose which parts of your profile can be seen by both strangers and friends. So that will mean some of it can be seen by strangers and some of it can be seen by friends. Anyone can see your whole profile. Just be careful what you put on there. So anyone in the world can see all of your information, or no part of your profile can be seen by anyone. So that means whoever clicks on your profile won't be able to see anything that you've put on there at all. Now, option 4, so that's this one about no one can see anything, is the most secure. But that would mean that any photos you put up on your social media or YouTube or anything at all, no one will be able to see it. The second option is probably the most safe. Sorry, the second one here, the second option could also be safe because it's showing that some are strangers and some are friends. However, if you're unsure, the best option to do is stick with the 4th one to ask your adult that's there to keep you safe, or to have it seen by friends. If they're your friends and you class them as your friends, they're people who you trust, so they can see your profile. If you're unsure of what setting to choose, I would always choose don't let anyone see it, and then you can ask an adult to help you choose the best thing. Because this one can be safe, the one with strangers and friends, but it's careful what they can see. So if they can see just your name but nothing else, then that's okay, but just being careful with that. So if you're ever unsure, make sure you ask an adult who you trust. So here's some quick top tips. Why should you pick a hard to guess password? Who should you share your passwords with? And why should you use privacy settings? So just having a think of what we've just discussed. You should pick a hard to guess password so that people can't guess it and go onto your profile and use things in your profile or have a look at things in your profile. Who should you share your passwords with? You shouldn't really share your passwords with anyone. However, a trusted adult, so a mum or a dad or a brother or sister that you trust, someone that you trust who's there to look after you, you can share it with them. Why should you use privacy settings is to make sure that strangers or unkind people can't get information about you that you don't want them to see. Passwords and privacy settings are both really, really good ways of keeping your information private and keeping you safe online. So your task today is you've got 4 sections. So you won't have this sheet, and that's absolutely fine. I'm going to tell you what you need to write down on your piece of paper. There's a little cyber security guard sheet to show how much you know about the importance of passwords and privacy settings. So the first instruction is circle the best password to use and put a cross next to the least secure. So I'm just going to make this a bit larger for you. This section here, you've got 6 different passwords. I'd like you to write down on your piece of paper the most secure password. So that's the best password that you could have out of these 6, and give that a little tick next to it. And then I'd like you to choose the one that's the least secure, one that's the easiest to guess, and write that down and put a little cross next to it. Then I want you to write down 3 examples of strong passwords below. So that's not necessarily fluffy 1, 2, 3. Think of ones that are really tricky for people to remember. Then here it says name the 2 simplest ways to keep the information in your account secure. So I want you to write 2 ways that you can make sure that people can't access your account and can't look at things that you don't want them to see. And the last one, if someone could see your private information because you had no security settings, what could happen? And if someone had your password, what could they use it to do? So I want you to have a think of those questions there and write down your answers on a piece of paper as well. Now I'm going to zoom out a little bit just so that you can pause the video and have a look at these questions carefully. Make sure you write your answers and then upload them onto Tapestry. So these are just ideas to keep you safe, and that's what we've been focusing on the last few computer lessons, to keep you safe. A lot of you won't have social media, which we hope you wouldn't have yet, because you're quite young. But I know a lot of you look on YouTube, you have Timetable Rockstars, you have your Teams passwords. So all of those things are meant to be tricky things, just to keep tricky passwords, and they're meant to keep your profile safe. I look forward to seeing your answers on Tapestry. Bye Year 3, and have a lovely, lovely weekend.